All right, Rob Brown, Brendan Martin, Tigers, Gators squaring off in the Final Four. We'll have to make a wager. We've got a great lineup today. Dave Tompkins over in the Low Country, Matt Dean, Coach Matt Dean in Memphis.
Rob, go
Yeah.
Gators.
Yeah, hey, it's going to be.
We're gonna crush the Tigers. We're gonna talk smack all week.
We are
all week long.
We're gonna have fun.
So much smack talk all week.
I tell you
the
what,
Gators are gonna win the national championship. It's just done.
That's who I picked to win it. But, I was like, I had Michigan State winning the South region, but glad I was wrong. But, hey, we're in SEC all 16. We love them all.
Not this week. This week.
We got
Screw them all. Go Gators.
Two in the Final Four.
No. You support them until your team is in it. If you're in it, there ain't no friends. It's in Colorado. When we stay in Colorado, we say there ain't no friends on a powder day. Okay?
Yeah.
You know what you know if you know. That's it.
Yeah.
You got to go.
Well, look, take a picture of the QR code with your cellular phone and to make sure you subscribe. We're on X, Facebook, YouTube, 7 channels simultaneously at the same time. Brendan?
That's what simultaneously means.
Hey, man, exactly. Watching the Gators play some close games, but when you win those close games, you can win more close games. Everybody in the tournament is a little tight, I would say, because you got no mulligans. So,
look, I'm sorry, but and Matt Dean is in the green room, and so is Dave Tompkins, and they're going to agree with me. You got to have a game. This is the perfect game to have before you go to the next level. You want to have something that just kind of reminds you that that you can be beaten on any given day. I think that is sort of what you want to. You don't wish for it. But, the Gators were tested, and they had to come back, and they had to prove this. You can't look ahead in March Madness.
No, there's no easy days. But I just think teams that win close games are better teams. Coach Matt Dean, Dave Tompkins, I think y'all would agree with that. The tournament, the excitement, there's just a natural degree of uptightness or whatever you want to call it. And the more you play, I haven't seen a guy take over a game in the tournament like I saw Walter Clayton Jr. Saturday. That was crazy the way he took over, but he absolutely dominated and would not allow the Gators to lose. Not that he was the only player, but would you all agree that you have him and Broom going against each other Saturday? That the TV guys couldn't have drawn it up any better.
Willis Reed, that's what yeah, Broom coming back on the floor, hitting the 3.
Wow.
I mean, just it was 1970 Madison Square Garden all over again. That was tremendous stuff. The way that game wound down, and kudos to Bruce Pearl and his team. I think I hope Broom's healthy. I guess that's going to be the big question this week. But I'm very happy for Auburn. I had Michigan State in my bracket as well. Tom Izzo's my favorite coach, but the best team won, and Auburn deserves to be in the Final Four.
Well, and I like what Matt, when Janai Broom went down, he went into the locker room. The guys were saying, hey, doesn't look good. They were trying to look at the body language of his parents, but when his dad came back out, he gave a thumbs up. And Bruce Pearl said that Janai came over to him and he said, what'd they say? And he gave him the report, and Pearl said, well, get your ass back out there. That's what I love. We need more of that in coaching. Hey, the guy's a tough fighter, and at this level, he'll play with a compound fracture, it seems like.
Good morning, guys. What I really liked about it was they're up double digits when he goes out. So the reality is they could have won that game more than likely the last 10 minutes without him. But he comes out, he tells Bruce he's ready to go, 2 thumbs up, whatever it was. He comes out, he grabbed that first rebound with just his left hand. And you're like, he's a tough dude, man.
Yeah.
And the way they started the game was a credit to their game plan to attack inside. Fantastic start. And they never really, I think Michigan State made it 27-22 late in the first half. It was 9 at half. It was 7-10, 7-12. It's never like they ever completely went away from Sparty, but they just couldn't make enough shots. And credit to their defensive game plan. You mentioned it earlier, Rob. I just thought they were everywhere. They're so lengthy, and you didn't see any shots or hardly any that were not contested. And You talked earlier before we came on the broadcast about adjustments in game. That's a lot of times where you're, as a head coach, you're relying on your staff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we always talk about Bruce. Bruce's son's a future head coach too someday. He has a tremendous staff. And, those timeouts are crucial. Like if you always see the little hits when the TV goes to the head coach right after a timeout, well, that first 30 seconds while the coach is doing the interview, someone is talking to the team and drawing plays up. And that's the other part of the staff, which all staff should get a lot of credit for in that regard.
Dave, when you looked at the previous game, Tennessee and Houston, with 43 seconds left, Tennessee had 12 points in the first half. We know both teams like to play defense, but not since color TV and the microwave have you seen that bad of an offense. And it's the lowest output ever for a 2 seed in the tournament.
I felt sorry for Rick Barnes and his team. They just had a bad day. They just couldn't hit any shots, and I don't think it was. I mean, I think they were shooting some shots too early in the clock, and that they were addressing that on TV. But otherwise, it was just a cold shooting day, and to me, Houston is like, and Kelvin Sampson, they're like Michigan State except with a little bit more talent. They're just as tough. They play great defense. They're the leading 3-point shooting percentage-wise team in the tournament this year, like almost 40%. So they just they're good. And what surprises me about Houston is they're really not that big. I mean, I think their tallest guy's like 6'8", but they are such monsters on the boards, so tough. They wear the personality of their coach just like Michigan State does. And, I think when you look at Bruce Pearl and Kelvin Sampson, I mean, all their resume needs, all it's missing is a national championship because both are so deserving. And I can say the same thing for Rick Barnes too, but he's got to figure out a way to get past the Elite Eight. That's just sort of his, enigma, I guess.
A kryptonite. I don't know what it is, but Audrey, my wife, driving back from Atlanta, was not happy. She was brokenhearted. And we pulled into Buc-ee's there in Leeds on the way back. And I was like, 34-15 halftime. I mean, that's a football score in today's world. Matt, I'll go back to what you said about adjustments. How hard is it as a coach to adjust if the other team starts doing things that you hadn't scouted? Or does that happen very often?
Well, I'll go to the Houston game. First of all, in my bracket, I got all 4 final teams right. I went chalk. But the thing, the people don't realize about Houston is what Dave just said. Perimeter-wise, they're the best percentage 3-point shooting team left in the tournament, okay? Emmanuel Sharp yesterday. Now, listen, that's as bad as first half as you can have, okay? Tennessee comes back out in the second half. What they do, they start attacking the rim more. Because when people pressure you from the perimeter and you can't get off shots, you have to go by them. You have to attack pressure. And in the first half, Tennessee didn't really do that too much. They got a couple open shots off of curl action. But man, and you got Ziegler, one of the best point guards in the country. And this is where I think people fall in love with the ball screen too much. Yeah. Because there's so many teams that will trap the ball screen, call it monster action, and push you out, and he's a start. You're sometimes better going 4 flat, or we used to call 4 down, where you let that guard have more freedom to make a play and then run people off it from the baseline, whatever you want to call it. And I just think yesterday they were tight. Dave hit on the head. They had a bad day. They had and really more so than anything, a bad 20 minutes. In the second half, that game was 50-40 with 5.5 to go, and they had missed 3 free throws in a row. Tennessee had a chance to cut that to 7. They weren't going to win the game. Don't mistake my message there. But they fought like heck in the second half. They were a reflection of their head coach in the second half. But they're the type of team, like, it's the anti-Florida. Florida was down 10 with, 5 to go? And the next thing you know, it's a tie ball game. Tennessee can't do what Florida has the ability to do from an offensive standpoint. They're the complete opposite. Now, Friday night, they locked Kentucky down from the start, and they made shots, and it wasn't a ball game. It was almost like, let's be honest, it was almost like Tennessee looked like Kentucky on Friday night to a different level. But let me point out one thing about Texas Tech. Even though they ended up losing the game, they were very fortunate to be in that game. That was a meltdown by Arkansas in the Sweet Six, the Elite Eight game. Arkansas had them down. What was it? A 16-3 run to end the game to go to overtime. Arkansas was playing as well as you could. And really, Florida did what Texas Tech did to Arkansas the game before.
Exactly. Well, I mean, Arkansas's up by 13 with 4 minutes and 20 seconds left in the game. And then Tennessee and Houston, 35 each in the second half. But you can't have those lulls, can you, Dave? It kill you.
Well, I love Matt's point about the ball screen and too reliant on it. We used to say 10 years ago, guards rule the tournament, and guards did rule the tournament 10 and 20 years ago. Think of like a Mateen Cleaves, staying at Michigan State with that 1-4 set, and you have the guard just penetrating and dishing, getting fouled, hitting their free throws. That's been lost, I think, and I don't know why. I mean, I absolutely want to have a good point guard who's just going to make plays and basically force the defense's hand, and that seems like that's been lost. Hopefully, we'll see a little bit of that in the Final Four. And that probably bodes well for Florida because that's something that Walter Clayton Jr. can do. I'd really like to see some great guard play. In the Final Four and championship game.
Well, and you think about Walter Clayton's role, then you look at Mark Sears for Alabama. He's hotter than a $5 pistol Thursday against BYU. They win 113-88, 26 of 51 from three. And it's almost a 180 against Duke. But no, Duke is good. Duke is long. I think the average size of the Duke players is 6'8". You mentioned about Houston's not that big, but Alabama with Nate Oates, they scored 100, 9 or 10 times this year. When they're rolling, they're unstoppable. They really are. But I just wonder, either one of y'all, what does Nate Oates need to change? He's about, elite last year, Final Four, this year, Elite Eight. What does he need to change to win the whole thing?
I think they need to turn into a tournament team. I think they play like an NBA team. I think they play like an NBA team that's going to get a high seeding and then win a best of 5 series or win a best of 7 series, which Alabama can do. But that's not March Madness. March Madness is one and done, and they have to have a plan B. And I'm going back to. All the way back to Wimp Sanderson. I've never seen an Alabama team with going back to the 70s and CM Newton with a plan B. They have a solid plan A, and with Nate Oates, they have a fantastic plan A, but no plan B, in my opinion.
That is a great description of it. Franz Beard, hot off the trail at the Hound, coming cross country. I imagine, Franz, you were having quite a time, and I sent out a text with Lauren and Buddy, and you were on there Saturday when I was over in Atlanta. I said, y'all got this. You got this. And you just, you had to have a poker face. But, friends, I know you weren't rattled at all watching the Gators take out Texas Tech. But they're honestly, let's think about Walter Clayton. And I'm not saying this just to suck up to you because you're Florida guys. I'm not. I would, if you asked me if the dress makes you look fat, I'll tell you if it does. I really don't care if I offend people or not. I'm going to tell you the truth.
Fat. No,
I'm kidding. I'm just saying Walter Clayton is incredible. And I think Jedi Broom, National Player of the Year. You give me Walter Clayton is the best guard, and the most complete player is Cooper Flagg. But it's the best power forward, big man. But what Clayton, he will not let – he's like a football player on a basketball court, and we know he was a hell of a football player in Lake Wales, Florida. But what a close. Damn, that was strong.
Well, it starts with Walter Clayton.
Thank you, love you.
And you're talking about a guy that had offers from Notre Dame, Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, LSU, Ole Miss, and Texas, among others, for football.
Yeah,
pretty good football player.
Yeah, that's a pretty good crowd.
He told me Friday night, and he said I was asked why did you choose basketball? He said because I don't like getting hit.
Wow. Well, he likes breaking hearts. God bless.
But but that's amazing because I've watched him in 3 games in the tournament, and he's just getting brutalized. I'm telling you what, I have never seen anybody. He should have shot 30 free throws in that game with Texas Tech because I mean this was like a 20-man over the top NWA deal. I mean it really was. Yeah. Now, I got to tell you what the Zebras. They're James Breeding, Steven Anderson, Michael Irving. They just let it go. And it was, the only thing they called was if it required a body bag, then they'd say, oh, okay, well, maybe we'll blow the whistle this time. But it was as physical a game as I have seen in a long, long time. And to Clayton's credit, he can absorb all this punishment, and yet still at the end of a game when he needs to, he can take it over. And that is what I think separates him from just about any of these guards we've seen who suddenly go into shooter's comas at the right time.
Yeah.
And to his credit, he absorbs the punishment and still has whatever it takes at the end. And he never went out of the game.
No, he's a football player on the basketball court. Matt, wouldn't you love to coach a Walter Clayton Jr. in clutch time or a Janai Broom? I mean, these guys are fearless warriors. And guys, real quick, Matt, does anyone remember Screaming A. Smith, Stephen A. Smith? I call him Screaming A. Smith. He was screaming about somebody the other day, a coach that's still living, but he was speaking about him posthumously. Was that tongue in cheek? What was he talking about? He gets a little carried away.
Well,
I know I do too.
I can't answer that question, but let me tell you this. He reminds me of a young Dame Lillard physically. God. And that play, Brendan was showing some things on the screen there that we saw, some plays in the game. The play that I can't get out of my head, and I think it may have been 75-72 to tie it up. He's on the left wing. He enters the paint, and it's like, there's traffic. And then just kind of dribbles sprint-wise to the right wing, and almost like in midair turns around from 24 feet and just drains it. I mean, you don't see people make these plays, guys. He is a playmaker. He's a big-time shot maker. No one left has this dude. I don't care what you say about Cooper Flagg. Is this the play? No, that's not the play. No one has that dude left, guys.
Well, look at how about that guy? I mean,
and him, but Walter Clayton, I'm not sure when it happens. Is Brendan putting it? He has to be, but there's a play. That was not okay. So it's the play after. It was play after this.
It's the next play. It's the one that put the Gators in front, 78-77.
That's right.
Dribbles in. He's got Darian Williams and JT Toppin in front of him.
Right.
So he dribbles out, and there's space, and he just and boom.
Right there. Okay, forget it. And now
there he is. Boom.
I mean, that's incredible.
That was a killer,
guys. That is incredible. That's all I got.
Yeah.
And nobody in the country can do that except Walt. And look at this. Boom. There he is.
Yeah.
They've done the analytics, and they say that when he dribbles to his left and pulls up and lets it fly, he's like a 60% shooter.
Wow.
Dribbling to your left and then pulling up, that if you're a right-handed shooter, that should not, that goes against the grain of what's supposed to happen.
It's like a pocket passer rolling left and throwing back right. It's done by a few people, but not a lot.
Yeah.
Dave, think about the analytics they just talked about with Walter Clayton Jr. What AI is going to do to sports.
Well, speaking of AI and change and all that kind of stuff, newsflash, this just in, the NCAA has decided to move the Final Four site from the Alamo Dome in San Antonio to Greensboro, North Carolina.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. They want Duke to be held, and referee
Right.
Pat
I mean,
Adams will
that's
referee
just way
any
too
game.
far for Duke to have to travel, man. That just ain't
Right.
fair.
It's not fair.
Well,
It's not
here's
fair at all.
You know, I got to tell you what, guys. I've watched 3 ball games that Florida's played. They've all been like sumo wrestling events.
Yeah.
Something, we've got to get a handle on the game. We've let the game get away. When Derek Queen, for example, can take 5 steps and not get called. When a Walter Clayton can get brutalized, and he does. I see stuff that goes on, and it's like the norm nowadays. The game's not it's a contact game. It's not a collision game.
Yeah.
And we've turned it into a collision game. They don't call charging anymore.
Right.
Hardly ever.
I mean that, and they say, well, it's too hard for the referees. Well, guess what? The referees suck. I mean, there's a wonderful site called Ref Metrics. And if you don't, if you want to find out about who's a good official and who isn't, go look in there. Do you see in the top 20, do you see Doug Shows? Do you see Ted Valentine? Do you see Roger Ayers among the guys who call the most fouls? No, but they call fouls. And you look at what their rate is. It's pretty much home team, visiting team is the same. This guy that James Breeding that called the Florida game, 14 fouls, something like that, or 16 fouls for the home team, 19, 20 or something like that for the visitors in every game. You go like, if there's a guy who rarely calls games anymore named Mike Nance. And Mike Nance was a guy who if you're on the road, you love him. If you're at home, you sit there and say, holy cow, why did we get Mike Nance? He's going to favor the visiting team. It's like you're starting the game and you're the home team. It's like you're starting the game down 8-0.
Yeah. Well, all of y'all, Dave, and you think about these officials. It's almost like it's a staged play that when one team is pulling away from the other, and especially if it's at certain schools, the refs are just ready to just get out there and be a part of the game versus being a referee. There's way too much of that going on. Wouldn't you agree, Dave?
The only thing worse, I've always hated coaches who are bigger than the program, and I've got some ones immediately come to mind, but I'm not gonna disparage them on the show. But the only thing worse than that,
feel free to do so if you would like. Don't worry about it.
Well, one of them, a great coach, but he and I have the same alma mater. And his successors in the Final Four this year. Anyway, but refs who are bigger than the game, and I mean there's just no cause for that. Just call the game. If you make a bad call, don't do a makeup call. Just call the game. And we don't care about you. We really don't care about you. We'll do ref metrics and see who's there, but you're not going to get to the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield by being a ref, and just it is what it is.
Yeah,
Matt, here's the thing. You just hit a really good point.
Oh, shit.
When Florida played UConn, Courtney Green was one of the officials, and my issue with Courtney Green is he makes a lot of right calls, but when he makes a bad call, the next thing you do, darn good and well on the next possession to try to do a makeup call. And I don't care as long as they're calling the game the same way at the beginning as they are at the end, I don't care, because then it's up to the coach to get his players to respond. Okay. Unless it's just blatant, if they're calling it the same way and one team's just hammering the other. But when it's all even like that and it's the same the entire game, it's up to the coaches. But we've gotten to a point that you got makeup calls, you got some officials who I think live to be on television. Now, Ted Valentine, people call him Television Ted, but you want to know something? He gets the calls right.
Yeah.
And one of the things Ted's always told me, he says, you got to be able to make a call and flush the bad call out. He says, you're going to make 5 or 6 of them every ball game. He says, I don't care who you are as an official, you're going to make 5 or 6 bad calls. And you know what? Hank Nichols, who's probably a lot of people consider the greatest official of all time.
Yeah.
Hank Nichols told me the same thing in Greensboro in 1974. He says, I'm going to make 5 or 6 bad calls. You can count on it. He said, but the game's too fast. And it's kind of like Doug Shaw said, you got, and I don't mean to sound racist like this, he says you got 8 black arms going for the same basketball. Which one belongs to who?
Yeah. I mean, Matt, let me ask you this. As a coach, we all remember how Bobby Knight would sometimes put his, get into the ear of an official, and suddenly the game would just completely flip. You're, a big guy, 6'3", about 205, all muscle. Did you ride the ass of an official once or twice in your coaching career? And how did that work out for you? And did you also talk to him before the game, shake hands and say, look forward to a good, clean game? And you'd say, yes, sir. How does that work? I mean, from your perspective.
Well, Rob, I appreciate the bio. I haven't been 205 since birth. But anyway.
You're all
appreciate it.
Lunch is on me Thursday.
But let me just say this. A couple things about officiating from a coaching perspective. So I was a head coach for 16 years. In my 16 years, I only received 2 technical fouls. Now, one of them I wanted. We were getting our ass kicked, and I was having a crappy day. My team was having a crappy day, and I didn't like the official. So why not? What does it matter if you lose by 3 or 4 extra points, right? But I recognize what Dave and Francis, they have incredibly tough jobs, and they're going to miss calls. My biggest thing, believe it or not, was coaching my team through it. Players need to know that these things are going to happen. And from a composure standpoint, we can't let ourselves get so emotional that we let a bad call affect our play, if that makes sense. So that's the thing. You have to coach your team knowing, man, there's going to be a lot of plays. There's a lot of 50-50 balls. And guys, I coached at a level. Now, we have replay at Division III now, but we never had it when I coached, guys. So there was a lot of plays I wish we could have gone back to. I'll tell you why. It's not necessarily the call. I'll give you an example. This is 2014 or 2015. We are coming back against Texas, Tyler. The winner advances to the Sweet 16. We're down 1. We're pressing. They throw the ball out of bounds to the side out of bounds, right? The official marks the ball side out of bounds spot. We got to play. We're going to get our best player the ball top of the key. We're going to go downhill. We're going to win the damn game. Then all of a sudden, this underneath official comes out. Mind you, I got no timeouts left, and changes it and says, no, it was not deflected. It's underneath out of bounds. Okay? Which is a totally different situation. There's 5 seconds left in the game. If I can review that play, then I can go over there for a minute and talk to my team and get another timeout that's not charged about a play I want to run. And that's where I think the real benefit has come in the last 2 minutes of games with replay. You see it all the time. There was a couple plays the other night in the Purdue-Houston game. Man, that game took forever. By the way, it was a great game. By the way, it was a road game for the number 1 seed in that region too.
Right.
But anyway, I just think that there's so much composure involved. When you're on the road, you almost are down 8-0. And I know there's these officials, friends have talked about it. Sometimes you feel that way at home. But at home, I always felt good because I really thought it would even out in the wash. But, man, it is a factor, and you've got to get your players in the right frame of mind to play through it, guys.
Yeah, and I've got to take a break for winter timber outdoors. But I'll just say, it's like that with anything. Don't Butch Thompson gave us a great quote on the show one time about walking from the dugout to the plate when you're a batter. Don't let the moment be too big. That's what you got to be careful of. All right, Winter Timber Outdoors, folks. Turkey season is upon us. There's nothing as challenging as being a turkey hunter. You're going to sit on the ground in a ground blind. You're going to have snakes crawling over your legs. It is intense. Get the right calls, the right gear, the box calls, the slate calls, the mouth calls, the diaphragm calls, and the copper-plated, the turkey loads, the migra turkey loads, all of them at Winter Timber Outdoors, Athens, Alabama. They've got all your shotguns, rifles, handguns, all your gear, Sitka, Dixie decoys, duck camp, top to bottom, head to toe, socks, pants, shirts, gloves, glasses, Yeti coolers, everything for the outdoor life. And they're going to be building a store right now that should open in June in Auburn. And they're looking to grow in the footprint that is the SEC. We're proud to be associated with them. Great company, great people. Southern owned, Southern pride for the Southern hunter and outdoorsman. Winter Timber Outdoors, Athens, Alabama, open every day of the week. You know what's cool is what both of y'all, everybody on here is so cerebral. Y'all are deep thinkers. We need to get a statue of Rodin in the background on the set. But no, I like what Matt said. And we're getting a little, yeah, Dave, there we go. Franz, you heard what Matt just said. And Matt is very mild-mannered. I don't know if it's, but most people in the Midwest are really cool. Watching Tom Izzo, I'm just a big fan of that guy. I love longevity. And you talked about Mateen Cleaves and the Flintstones. 4 of the 5 starters on that national championship team in 2000 were from Flint, Michigan. And 8 Final Fours, 11 Elite Eights. It's just consistency. They don't miss free throws very often. And I thought Bruce Pearl yesterday flat out game planned and out schemed. Doug Dean pointed this out in some comments he sent to me before the show this morning. And that's hard to do. And I have nothing but respect. If I saw Tom Izzo, man, I'd buy him dinner. I'd just say, Coach, I just want to listen to you talk about basketball. Franz, you've seen a lot of coaches in your years. Don't you love seeing the guys like that and the respect that he and Pearl had? And I thought that was a clean game. I thought that was just, I love that about sports, is seeing the post-game handshakes and hugs, because those guys are competing, but there was respect out there on that court. That's my perspective.
Well, I grew up in an era with, writing about basketball, and I was, in the ACC when Lefty and Dean, when they played each other, hated each other on the court. After the game, it was a different story. Dean Smith would sit there and do whatever he did to win a game on the court, and after the game, he'd bum a cigarette off me. But the respect was good because it was not only coach to coach, player to player, etc. It was good because we had good relationships with media. Coaches were nice to us, and we tended to be nice to them. I mean, Lord knows, I'm not going to go into the details. If I printed all the stuff I knew about Norm Sloan, the National Enquirer wouldn't even print it.
Yeah, of course.
But we've got to get, again, I hate to sound like I'm living in the past, but we've got to get back to when the game was a purer game, because I don't think we can sustain the game the way it's played right now. I just don't see it. And we're not helping it with the portal. And the same thing's true with football. I don't disagree with having a portal. I don't disagree with being able to leave a school. But I think you got to put some guardrails on this. Otherwise, the chaos that we have now is going to make it unsustainable. And here's where, it's not going to be unsustainable among, for example, a Florida or an Auburn or an Alabama or Tennessee or Kentucky. No, because these schools are good enough that players from, let's say, down at North Texas, or maybe used to be Northeast Louisiana Monroe,
Yeah.
or places like that, they're going to say, I'm never on TV. How are the pro scouts going to know about me if I'm never on TV? How am I going to get NIL money if I'm never on TV?
Yep.
So those players are going to go up. It's going to be like a magnet, sucking them up. And we've got to get back to, we got to have some guardrails, because kids want to move up, but you can't just drain all the talent from down below. These guys down below have jobs too, and wives and families to support, and kids who need to get an education.
Yeah, and I'm not for socialism, but the top programs, you got all 4 seeds for only the second time ever, Dave Tompkins. And by the way, Dave, real quick, can you tell Swamp Fuel 120? I love this guy's name. Hey Rob, how many media timeouts are put into a game? Can you tell us that, and then go ahead with your comments?
Oh, okay. So the media timeouts are at 16, 12, 8, 4. So it's every
So there's 6
4 minutes on the clock. Yep.
Okay.
First off, on officiating, I used to do some officiating, and I always made a bad call when I anticipated a call. I would anticipate a call when I was nervous. So I would be nervous if it was a big game, if it was a fast game, or if there was a coach yelling at me. So I wonder if that's the case with some of these refs that are anticipating calls. I think Exhibit A, on Francis' point, is Maryland. What a shame. I'm really kind of disgusted with Kevin Willard, with the way he behaved on his way out, on his way to Villanova. I mean, he built that team through the portal. Maryland is a basketball school. It's not a football school. It's never going to be a football school. It goes all the way back to Lefty Driesell. But he built that team through the portal. They make the Sweet 16. That's probably as far as they're going to go. The Crab 5, all that's great. Now he's gone. The team's gone. The program's gone, and that's just a shame. And I think, to me, that's Exhibit A to Francis' point about what's wrong.
That Dave, I agree with you totally. The way Kevin Willard handled that, I mean, he distracted from his team. I mean, that's not why they lost. Florida just was better, but I agree with that. Matt, as a coach, and a lot of coaches around the country, like I say, D1, D2, D3, you're all in it to win it. You're all competitors. You understand it. Okay, so there's 8 total media timeouts, 16, 12, 8, and 4. Guys, there was a timeout in the first half yesterday, Matt, when Auburn seemed like they were just running away from Michigan State, and there was like a half-hour timeout. Those things are so annoying, but sometimes you feel like it's scripted. Matt, how do you keep momentum with all these timeouts when you're wearing the other team out, but these timeouts come and give them a break that you don't want them to have, or sometimes you need it yourself? So I guess it goes both ways, correct?
Yeah, a couple things. Back when you're making a comeback and you're trying to shift momentum, there are times, especially if you're picking up man full or pressing, that we may make a basket and I may use a timeout just to give my team a rest so we can re-energize and continue this run. Some people counter that and say, well, you just hurt your momentum because the other team now can sit down and draw up a play and gain their composure. I get it. But sometimes as a coach, you have to trust your gut, trust your team, and know when you need to stop play. Conversely, there are times when you're just getting your tail kicked and you need to stop play and you need to get your team over there for a minute break, whatever, and get them out of the line of fire and hope you can draw something up or utilize a play that, is in your repertoire that you usually run after timeouts. Now, conversely, if I'm a coach and I've been playing man-to-man defense and the other team calls a timeout, it's a great time for me to switch to zone, because I may get them in a situation where they're coming out trying to run a man set, and we switch to a matchup zone, 3-2 drop, whatever, triangle and 2, whatever, just to screw them up. And then we may go back to man after that possession, but we're going to give them a look they haven't seen. So it's definitely strategic, guys. My point earlier, what's happened with replay is, we know we got the media timeouts. Those are at those times you mentioned. It's now with all the replay, there are a bunch of timeouts.
Yeah, I'm watching, listening to all the Tennessee and Houston game yesterday. I get a text from a friend of mine, Jeff Heimbach, huge Tennessee fan. I mean, oh my God. Yeah. And of course, being a good German Catholic, also Notre Dame as well. But he sends me a picture. He's been all weekend long. He's been holed up at this big volleyball tournament for his daughter. And he sends a picture during the middle of that. Tennessee is losing badly. My wife is frustrated. She's angry, evolved for life she is. And there's a picture he sends. He goes, oh my God, look who's sitting about 20 feet from me against the wall. Jimmy Page. Remember him from Led Zeppelin? Obviously, he's got a granddaughter. And I said, well, he's obviously in town. That's just what you see in Memphis all the time. You'll see guys like Mick Jagger, Robert Plant, recording at Ardent Studios, I believe. They'll come in to record, and I guess he had a friend or someone. He's just sitting there, and he's asleep. He's like my dad. My dad could fall asleep talking to you. He's a narcoleptic. But I like what these timeouts, they're annoying as hell. But as a coach, Matt, and you're you're kind of a Hugh Beaumont of coaches. I'm gonna start calling you Hugh. Remember Ward
Who
Cleaver?
is Hugh Beaumont, by the way?
Ward Cleaver. Ward Cleaver.
There we go.
How have you, Matt? Drop and give me 20. But you're so calm.
Rough on the Beaver last time.
Yeah. That's right. But Matt, you're so calm. That's right. Eddie passed away recently, I might add. But Ken Osmond. But my thing is, Matt, you're so calm. But also, I've been around you, and I've been around you with other coaches when we go over to the cafeteria, the Lynx lair at Rhodes. You're very intense. There's strength. I love to listen to these things about the stoicism. There is strength in silence and being quiet, isn't there?
There is. And one of the things, when I was an assistant coach for a decade, I learned a lot from a Hall of Fame coach, Coach Hilgeman.
Yeah.
I think once you get your opportunity as a head coach, you take a lot what you learn from your mentor. People forget Kelvin Sampson was with Judd Heathcote, who was one of the greatest coaches in the history of our time. And people don't even recognize. I know Franz and Dave.
I remember him.
I know you do. But
oh, yeah.
For me, Kelvin Sampson said something really spot on for me the other night after that great inbounds play that they ran to beat Purdue. It was like telling the media, hey, guys, it's not about all these number of plays that we have. It's about practicing and executing one that works. And that's so true. We will run stuff over and over and over in situations. Side out of bounds, 5 seconds on the clock. What do we got? Yeah. What are our options? What are our counters? You don't have much time to make a decision. I'll give you another quick story. My first year as a head coach, I had watched Hubie Brown at a clinic in the late 90s. I get my opportunity to coach. We have a side out of bounds play. We name it Hubie because I love Hubie Brown. In special situations, there was no one better as a head coach.
Yeah.
So we run the play, and we come out in there in a damn 2-3 zone. And I'm like, oh, crap. And you don't have much time to think. There was 7 seconds to go. So my kid fortunately got the ball from the wing and let it fly. He missed it so badly, it didn't hit the rim. Our guy was right there to catch it, put up a buzzer, we win. So it was like
Lorenzo Charles
play that we ever had that wasn't really even a play, So, but some of it is you have to make sure your players are very instinctive, and they have to realize that there's a chance we can draw all this stuff up, but they may come in, they may play zone on us, and we may have to just go attack the rim and make a play, and that's winning, and that's what I see. In the young man from Florida. I love Clayton Jr. I just think he's a playmaker, and there's not many of them left in this tournament.
No, and he to me, Franz, you got a chance to talk to Walter. I can't imagine what his family's like. They got to be awesome people. Yeah. I mean, but this guy, he's such. I mean, you saw Broom's parents up in the stands, and we forget about where these guys come from. And
Walter is as humble a kid as you'll find. It's amazing. Let me tell you, in reference to something Matt was talking about, Florida in the Texas Tech game, and this was a critical point in the ball game. Micah handlocked and they'd gone up to dunk the ball. And he hung on the rim because he was being undercut. And the ball goes up and because he's hanging on the rim, but it comes back down. They call basket interference. That's with about 15 minutes and 26 seconds to go in the game. About almost exactly 2 minutes later, there is a media timeout, the first chance they really had for a media timeout. And this is when the officials went over there and Todd Golden says, please review this. Prior to that, though, Walter Clayton gets hammered while he's taking a 3-point shot. So they call the media timeout. He's going to get the 3-point shot. All of a sudden, they come back, they review the dunk, and they restore the points.
Yeah.
2 points there. Walter hits 3 free throws in a row. Boom, boom, boom. Because of the media timeout and because the officials took the time, and I give them credit for this, to get it right, there's a 5-point swing.
That's one of the most exactly. I'm glad you explained that. Dave, speaking of Judd Heathcote, you remember that TV show, Alice? Remember Mel, the guy at the diner?
Oh, yeah.
Judd Heathcote was a dead ringer for Mel. He had that
he sure was.
When Judd Heathcote retired,
he was Magic Johnson's coach when they won when they won in '79.
But I remember when he retired,
Yes.
they did the tour. Remember they had the giant rocking chair out there at midcourt at Indiana. I mean, and Izzo's been there. Dave, I know, Dave, 30 years.
1995, I believe, was his first year.
God almighty, 30 years. And I've seen him at a lot of Grizzlies games because Draymond Green and guys that played for Golden State, he will come and he'll sit right out there. He's Joe Sixpack, man. He doesn't, but Dave, you understand history, all of y'all do, about basketball. When you look at guys like Janai Broome coming out there, the Willis Reed moment, that's cool because that invoked the history of the game. And these older guys that played, we all remember our trading cards. They'd say, Dave Tompkins, 6'7", power forward for the Philadelphia 76ers. In the offseason, Dave works at First National Bank of Philadelphia because you had to have a job outside of that, Those guys love
Philadelphia. That would have been Steve Mix, number 50 for the 76ers.
Yeah, but those guys love the game, and Franz gets it. Damn, Matt gets it. You get it. I love basketball. I love the game. I can remember as a kid skating on ice in an ice storm in 1974 to get to the Mid-South Coliseum to watch the Memphis Tigers play. There was an ice storm. The city was shut down, but we went down there to see the Tigers play. And Matt, living in Memphis, there are 3 things that will get you up. How to wake you up in the morning. It's an Elvis song on the radio, the smell of barbecue, and the Tiger basketball team being on a tear. It's just, Dave, very few people get it, but this panel of y'all 3 understand how big basketball is. This Final Four this weekend in San Antonio. How crazy is it going to be? And the Duke fans I understand a district judge has filed an injunction, you're correct, to stop the Final Four. It's been moved to Greensboro, and other teams will get what tickets they don't want. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, in Greensboro, that's at least an hour drive from Durham. I mean, the damn thing should be in Raleigh. Raleigh makes a lot more sense.
That's right.
Well, you can put it at Cameron, but at Cameron, you sit there and the rats come up and introduce you to their grandchildren, and 6 weeks later, if you come 6 weeks later, the grandchildren have grandchildren.
That's right. Yeah, Dave, give me. What do you think's going to happen Saturday?
Well, I think what I like about this Final Four is the last 2 Final Fours. It was everyone knew that UConn was going to win. This year, I think any team can win. I think you're going to have 2 really, really good games. I think Bruce Pearl is my second favorite coach after Tom Izzo, so I'm pulling for Auburn, but I believe Florida's going to nudge them, and I really hope Houston wins the nightcap. But I have to admit, Duke is a lot better. Franz and I were on the show a couple weeks ago at the beginning of the tournament, and we were besmirching Duke. They are a lot better than I thought, and give credit where credit's due. And they're big and they're athletic, and it's a lot more than just Cooper Flag. And John Shire is a good coach. That they picked the right successor to Coach K. But I think it'll be a good game, and I'm pulling hard for Houston, but I'm afraid the final is going to be Duke, Florida.
Okay. Franz, I have Florida playing Houston and Florida cutting the nets down, but also had Michigan State and Alabama in my Final Four. So I've got two of my teams left. But, Franz, what do you think happens? Real quick, quickly, because I know Matt has a meeting.
I like Florida, and here's why I like Florida. Florida can beat you on the perimeter and on the inside, consistently do it. Auburn, if Miles and Pettiford are going shooters comas, Auburn can do it. But if they're not able to, Florida beat Auburn without Elijah Martin. People forget that. They beat them soundly without him. He's Florida's best defender on the perimeter, and Mr. Pettiford's going to find out what an NFL strong safety is like guarding him, because that's what he is. I like Florida. I think Houston is going to give Duke a real run for the money. And the thing about it is it's so tough to play a game after you've played Houston. Now, you may beat them, but I think that it's going to take too much out of Duke to, from playing Houston. I like Florida to win it. And that's not just because I'm a Gator, but
I know you're not. I know you well enough to know you're fair. Dave Tompkins, I know you got to go. Let's do it again next week. Absolutely awesome stuff. God, I love having you on here. Thank you so much, Dave. All right, Matt, does it matter the fact that Auburn has played all the other three teams so far? They lost at home to Florida. They lost at Cameron 84-78, December the 4th, and they beat Houston on the road out in Houston early in the season. You've got tape regardless, but you've actually played them. Is that a positive X factor or just kind of a wash?
This time of year, it kind of is what it is. But one of the things that we forget about in these big domes when you play a Final Four is the shooting backgrounds are unique and they're different. And that's where I think Florida does have an advantage with their more inside-out nature and how they play. I actually, when I first took a look at this bracket, I'm looking at my first bracket. I only did a couple, but I actually had Houston beating Duke in the Final Four and then playing Florida. Now I'm not so sure. I think Duke, kind of what Fran said, I think Houston's going to give them a heck of a game. I think it's going to be a Florida-Duke final. That game I'll be pulling for the Gators. But I'll tell you right now, Duke is playing better guys than I probably gave them credit for, because I thought the ACC, and it was a weak conference, but Duke is obviously the gold standard. And I think give their coach a lot of credit. I think Shire's done a marvelous job. And it was funny, 2 years ago when he was a first-year coach, remember Tennessee physically just beat the heck out of them. And he's composed that roster now that I think they can handle Houston's physicality, though I am pulling for Houston.
Well, I'll take a comparison on the ACC overall. People say it's weak, it's down this year. It's kind of like when you go to the state championship track and field meet, you've got 8 heats in the 100, and you're the fastest runner in the state that year, but they're not going to put you in the heat with all the other fast people. You may be in a heat with some really slow people in relative terms, but you're running, a low 10, high 900. You're running against yourself, the clock. That's the standard. That's what Duke does. I mean, it's psychological or whatever you want to call it, but when you see Duke, you're just it can be mental. It can be a problem, Franz. And now I don't hate Duke. But I do think there's a man crush by the national media that is a little bit ridiculous. Matt, I think you said you've got a meeting at 9, and we're just going to go a couple of more minutes, but absolutely awesome stuff. How do people follow you? And retweet this thing, tell your friends, families, and neighbors, and even people you don't know, including redheaded strangers from Blue Rock, Montana.
On X at Dino Hoops 44. Follow us, roadslinks.com on the web. We're in the middle of spring season. Our baseball team has won 5 out of 6. Go Lynx. And friends, like I always say, man, it's a pleasure to be on with you. You guys have a great time.
I want to eat lunch with you and Cleanthes Thursday.
We can do that.
Hey, I want to go to Corky's, and I will endure the barbecue, which is really good, just to get to the banana pudding, you know?
You can make it, friends. I'm buying. Let's do that.
I'll buy. I'll buy.
Right.
Take care, Matt.
Take care.
Friends,
right, guys,
hey,
I got to go too.
Yeah. Franz, okay, we lost Franz, and I'm just going to say, Franz, awesome stuff. We're going to hear more about it as we go along. But what are you writing about in GatorbaitMedia.com? Because all of this will be in print, and I suggest people subscribe because there's no better place to follow the Gators, but also you cover the national picture really well.
Well, one thing I've got in there that I didn't get to throw in, I believe Buzz Williams will be the next head basketball coach at Maryland.
Wow. I saw that
from
you.
In San Francisco, we had CBS people who were telling us that Kevin Willard had already taken the Villanova job. Same people were saying that Buzz Williams, it's just a matter of Jimmy Sexton and Buzz getting the numbers right to go to Maryland.
Yeah.
Blows my mind. Why? But I guess it's because you're tired of being big, little brother in a big brother place. And he goes to Maryland and he's the king of the state. So
yeah, that's
big. The other thing I wrote about is Todd Golden in 3 years is set to be king of the roost. Okay. He's going to be the tall hog at the trough. All right. Now you got Billy Napier has had 3 years too. And Billy Napier is nowhere close to where Todd Golden is. This is a time where Billy Napier is going to be compared to Todd Golden, and it's going to be a critical time. So that's what I wrote about today. Hey guys, Rob, will always love it. Anytime you need me, always ready for you.
Hell yeah, get some rest, man. We'll talk to you in a little bit, okay? Thanks so much. Let me say something about our sponsors. And man, we're growing this show. We have the best executive producer on the planet, and there's so much great information coming out. LandersForwardMemphis.com. Let them know you heard about it on Sidelines. $500 off. They'll work with you, whatever your situation is. Good credit, challenging credit. Matt said, Brad Bellamy, the general manager, said they spent 8 hours with a person one time and they were in tears. They got him into a vehicle. They're fair. I love these people. Landers Forward Memphis. They're located at Poplar and Houston Levee, where Memphis and Collierville come together. Their name is all over the Mid-South. Those of you that are Houston High School, Collierville, like my wife, Christian Brothers High School, Tom Nix Stadium, Landers Field. They've made a massive commitment financially to support CBHS. Show them how much you appreciate that. Get out there, look at the cars, the trucks, the SUVs. What better thing to do than drive around in a new truck or Bronco? I love these vehicles out there, and the service department will pick you up at home, at your office, round trip transportation. The commitment just begins the minute you sign the deal. They're with you forever. Great folks to work with. If you didn't buy your last vehicle from Landers Ford, you probably paid too much. Down the street, Hewlett and Dunn. I'm going to get out there possibly today. Hewlett and Dunn open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. You get out there and you look at all the great gear they have. They've got great looking men's and women's boots. You see that orange box there? That's the turtle box. That is the best thing because it can drop in the water. I've dropped mine in the water 3 or 4 times just to listen to the music. As long as you hit that seal and you close it, it'll play music underwater. The turtle box, they got them there. They've got Barber, Filson. They got the best gear, and they got a 50% off sale on the winter gear. Filson, Pendleton, Schaefer, Barber, Duckhead, great looking spring fashions. All of them out there. They've got them luggage, Filson luggage, the shorts. Again, great looking men's and women's boots. I'm telling you guys, it's never a bad time to buy a gift for your wife or your girlfriend. or your kids, or for anybody, get out to Hewlett and Dunn. Best selection of boots and men's and women's gear for the town and country life you'll find anywhere. Open every day, Monday through Saturday. Hey, push off. Go out, help people, make great things happen. And remember, we can't do everything, but we can all do something. See you tonight on the Buddy Martin Show at 9 p.m.